Alright, good afternoon. We are here on the corner of Back Road and British Cemetery Road. Betty Helen's house is in the background. Al's house, who had the birthday the other day, we walked past, is there. Gonna turn you around. We're gonna go down British Cemetery Road. Not exactly sure how far we're gonna go, but we'll figure it out as we go along. Turn you around. Here we go. So down Back Road is on your way to Zillie's. We're gonna go this direction. And I'm gonna take, before we even really get started, I'm gonna take a little side trip. It's one of my favorite graveyards that I don't go to a lot because I'm kind of related to everybody around here, but also you've got our closer relatives. So I don't get down to this graveyard a lot, but it's kind of a cool little graveyard back in here. It's at the Fulcher O'Neill Cemetery. And there's a little path back here that goes back to cemetery back here. And like I say, it's been years since I've been back here. This is it. This one. I thought it was back a little farther. There are lots of them. It looks like some damage got done probably during the storm, a broken grave site here. But this one's kind of cool. This is one of the only ones like it on the island. It's, I don't know if you can hear that, a metal, I think it's zinc marker. And it's one of the only ones like it here. And it's tucked back. And then we're not going to go all the way back there, but there are even more graveyards back through the trees there, which is kind of fun. And I don't know if y'all realize we've got over 80 cemeteries on the island, and they're just tucked everywhere along the way. I don't always think of it as morbid. I think of it as really just a testimony to the history that we have on the island. And it's really neat to be able to kind of revisit old friends and people we've heard about over the years. Even if you never knew them, even if they died well before you came along. It's just kind of neat to keep that history alive. So, coming around. Teeter's Campground. It was a mess after the storm. Oh my gosh, all the trailers that were in here were just torn up and mangled. It was really sad to see coming by here. But some of the FEMA trailers are here now. Some of the island residents whose houses aren't done yet are living in here. And it's nice that we've got that space. And the wind's coming a little more from the north, so I apologize for the wind. Thanks to everybody who's watching. The other day, the questions and the comments weren't showing up, so I didn't know who I was watching, but it's kind of fun today to see who's coming up here. So we've got, cross over the street here, British Cemetery. Normally the British flag is flying. I'm guessing they just haven't had a chance to get it redone. But the HMS Bedfordshire sank here in May of 1942. There are 4 sailors buried here who they found. 2 identified, 2 unidentified. These were the original cross markers here. And then the British Navy uniformly changed all the markers here, and you can see some of the damage from the fence that hasn't been replaced. I know Crystal Canterbury has been trying to get some funds to help fix that. That'll get fixed eventually. And then, and if you can smell these flowers, just pretend. It smells wonderful. The David Williams Cemetery up there, he was a captain, and his house is what the Preservation Society Museum is in now. That was the Captain David Williams house. And we've got Augustus Abner McGuire. His nickname was Old Diver. And we might tell you that story eventually, or get Philip to tell that story eventually. But he was somebody who was considered to haunt these parts over the years after he was buried here. And we've got the Howard Wahab Cemetery here. Stanley Wahab and Miss Myra are buried in there. Woody Billings does a good job of keeping that one up, or at least he has been lately. I think he's still doing it. Looks still pretty good, cleaned up. And back down here, well, there's a little lighthouse back in there. I think that was used on one of the floats years ago, maybe for the coffee shop. I'm not really sure. They've been doing work on that house. That house back there got flooded pretty badly. I'm not sure what all houses got flooded back here, but there's still work in progress. Nice little stroll back through here. Neat old home that they raised up after Hurricane Alex did some damage to that. They raised it up. And then Howard and Daphne raised their house up. They're not, I don't think they're quite in there yet, but they're getting very, very close. Very exciting. And this house was offered up to residents after the storm. Really nice. We really appreciate all the property owners who weren't living here full time who helped out with housing after the storm. It took a huge burden off of a lot of different people. It was really greatly appreciated. Another little graveyard. Too many sometimes to point out all the different ones. Construction going on over here. This house has a pool inside of it. The purple house has a pool. So if you want an indoor pool, there you go. And I think we've got time. If you guys, of course you can quit watching anytime, but I think we'll go to the end here and then we'll loop around Northern Pond. So try to get this section all done today. For those of you watching who know Rex, he drove by a couple times in his pickup truck. I don't know if anybody recognized him going through. Question, how's the rag picker? We're going to do that in the next couple days. It was still a little too windy to do that. This house has been raised up. I know Debbie and Mike rent this house a lot. Hey Rex, would you like to say hello to the Facebook crowd? Yeah. You're on live TV or live Facebook. You're on live Facebook feed. You want to say hi to everybody?
Well, hello everyone. How are you? Stay safe.
Stay safe, exactly. See you, Rex. He's been working on his house, Northern Pond here. And I think this house, Water's Edge, is going to get raised up too at some point. Yeah, it's funny how small Ocracoke is, and yet how there's some places that I just don't get to very often. You stay in your own little realm for however big a place is. It looks like we got an ochre cat feeding zone over here. Caroline and a whole crew of her friends came down and did ochre cat feeding areas here. So they're super sweet. You see the eyes? They're peeking out. I don't want to scare them. They're peeking out over there. And then if I lose anybody, I apologize. We've had a few issues with the internet getting lower, going out periodically. So I'm sorry if I cut out. It's not because I've disappeared. It's just because the internet has. So we'll walk back down here, a little backtracking. And we'll go down all the way around Northern Pond. It's quiet back in here. Not a lot of wind. The fence is looking good. Come along. We got a little ways to go. We'll get there eventually. That's right. That's right. We're trying. All right. Come down here, a lot of times there are ducks swimming around in the pond. Every now and again you'll see an otter. I know somebody commented they had seen an otter at Jolly Roger. And every now and again you'll see. And coming up, I have to give a shout out to Gary and Wendy. They offered their house up to us to stay in after the storm. We had already gotten something else arranged, so we didn't need to take them up on it. But again, we super appreciate the offer. I know I keep saying that, but it's really true. We're humbled by all the love and support and encouragement we've been given. So, tucked away in the trees, Rigsy raised her house up. It's looking good. It's a lot of work raising the houses up. You've got to redo the porches and steps and make sure everything fits back together right. We got Long Island, Arkansas. I think I saw somebody from Tennessee, Virginia checking in. Makes me want to go traveling. But I get to travel by talking to you guys. These houses are really pretty because they have their own little pond. Northern Pond is back there. If anybody's not rented back here before, it's got its own little sandy beach back there. You're right on the Sound. It's a nice way to, especially if you have little kids or kayakers, it's a great way to be able to get out into the Sound very quickly without having to haul things around one way or the other. So we're going to go down this direction. This is down where Soundside Studio is, where the Molasses Creek albums are recorded these days. Work here, they've lost a lot of trees when the tidewater came up. It's been a little cloudy and overcast, but no more rain today. Ruth's mama's house. The Goins' home. They've been coming for years and years and years. Always love having them stop in. And there's Northern Pond again, back through there. You can see kind of the little sandy beach there. So some of the rental homes around here back right up to that, and you have access to the sandy beach. And the Sunset Kitty, the artist, Gary's wife, lives right here, and she does beautiful paintings and is inspired a lot, I think, by the sunset views that she gets here and the ferries coming in and out. This was a lot that a house went down, or up, I guess I should say, in a tornado. Hurricane came and spawned a tornado and took the house right away. So there's nothing left there. There used to be steps, but that's it. Luckily, nobody was in the house when it got taken away. So here is a beautiful view of the Sound. And on a normal spring day, you'd see ferries coming in and out. You'd see boats out there. Every now and again you can see dolphins. There's poles for fishing nets out there. Wonderful house. Luckily they got that raised up before the storm hit, so they've had a great view. And back around to Northern Pond. Children. I know my son doesn't like to be on Facebook or be publicized very much, and I try to honor that or respect that if he doesn't want to be put on Facebook. So I try to avoid where children are, and there were some kids playing on a scooter down there, but I just saw them go the other direction. So we're going to try to walk down to the end of the street. And actually, I might go through the little shortcut and pop out. It's a little longer video than I normally do, but we'll pop out at the water plant. Can you see the water plant in the distance there? The water tower. I'll probably pop out there. Yeah, this is a beautiful area to watch the sunset. There aren't a whole lot of rental houses down here, but there are a few. And if you want to get them, you kind of got to get in there quick and reserve them when you can, as soon as you can. And to be honest with you, I don't know all the names of these streets, because when I grew up, there were no names of streets. We went by whose house it was on. And you went to so-and-so's house, and we made our street names up sometimes. I'm doing a Facebook Live video, Christina, so would you like to say hello? Nope? Okay, that's why I'm pointing this way. Christina says hello, but not in person. It's a Facebook Live video. Nope. She says hello. That's all you're getting. Good to see you. I'll give you a call sometime. And they took down a bunch of trees down this direction. I watched a video of it. Is it Greg Brown's? I can't remember the name of them. They came in and did some tree removal for people after the storm. New porch there. I don't know if this path is still available. We're going to sneak through this little path. Try not to go on people's private property, because we want to respect everybody's privacy. And you can still see here how high the trees got, or how high the brush got in the storm. There's still debris dangling in trees. I would say that's probably 3 feet up or so through here. This is another secret island path. You can still see all the debris. So our first thing to do after the storm was to try to clean up our houses, and the debris piles and the trees have been secondary compared to everything else. And here we come out onto Water Plant Road. It's used to, maybe still does house campers for the Park Service down here. Has anybody been down this far before? Do you guys know where I am now? Or am I getting you all confused? Again, I want to reiterate, stay on the main roads or the trails, but try not to cut across people's property. It's just one person, not so bad, but when you get a whole bunch of people starting to do it, it's just hard to keep up with sometimes. So, and you can see the water plant there, and there's stack. So if you're ever on the island and you smell what smells like sulfur, that's from the water treatment plant. And it used to be really strong back here, but you can see how high that stack is, and it disperses those sulfury smells higher into the ground, or higher into the air, so they don't reach the ground as quickly. So in the 70s and 80s, it always smelled like sulfur back here. And now it's only on occasion if the wind is really pushing down, or the humidity is really, really heavy, and keeps those things that smell down closer to the ground. And there's some rentals back in here. I'm not sure how many there are. Again, a lot of this is private area, a few rentals, but if you're curious about it, you can check out some of the websites, the Ocracoke Island Realty or the Blue Heron Realty, and see if they have any rentals back here, or VRBO, or Airbnb. A lot of those places. So this is where we get our water. Dave and Dave, Robbie, Marcus, all those guys working hard. And we're coming back around to the back of the Berkeley Manor and the back of the Preservation Museum. Where some of the golf carts are kept, the island cart rentals, and the trams. I think we're gonna have to get new trams. I think the water got up a little too high for them. Backside of the Berkeley and the Berkeley barn here. Miss Blanche behind the museum, and back there Park Service. And in fact, I think I got it wrong. I think it was the Coast Guard at the behind the water plant. I think it was the Coast Guard that had trailers there, and the Park Service has trailers here. I lose track sometimes of who goes where. Berkeley. You can see the old Coast Guard station ahead, which is now the NCAT building, North Carolina Center for the Advancement of Teachers. They do great jobs bringing teachers down. I know I've met a lot of teachers through the years who've come down through that, and they love hearing Ocracoke history and hearing the stories as well. And the museum. So this was a longer walk than I planned. I was gonna do it in 2 sections, but I just got going on it. And where the passenger ferry usually comes in, by that dock down there. I haven't hit this video when there's an actual ferry in sometime. I'll have to come down, and I will do a sunset video at some point. Today is a little too cloudy, and I got to hit the right day so you can see a sunset. I'm going to do a sunset, I think, from Robbie's Way, and I'll explain more about Robbie's Way later, but it's a section of the island owned by the Preservation Museum. It's a little known, public access to the sound, no parking, not Springer's Point. It's its own little entity, and it's a lovely little spot that almost nobody knows about. And we can watch the sunset from there one night. So I could just around the corner. This is where the new gaffers is supposed to go. They've put sand in, but I haven't heard about a groundbreaking time. I know a lot of people have had weddings on this property, and the Wahab house next door. I've had properties there, or weddings there on that property, and out in the gazebo or the area out there overlooking the lighthouse. I'll give you one last parting view of the lighthouse, and then we'll turn it off. So here you go. One last view of the lighthouse with, I don't know if you can see it, the little sign at the marina that said, "Thanks, come back soon." And we hope that everybody can come back soon and we can get back to normal relatively quickly. So thank you guys for watching again. I'm gonna turn it off here, and we'll do another video tomorrow sometime.